Hey there. Today we're diving into a pretty provocative theory from one source that says all the economic chaos you're seeing in the news, well, it might just be a symptom of a much deeper, hidden crisis. So, let's get right into it. You've seen the headlines, right? Aggressive tariffs, stocks going all over the place, and this constant chatter about a potential market crash. It's confusing. And according to the source for this explainer, almost nobody understands the real reason why it's all happening. So the source makes this really chilling comparison. It asks us to think all the way back to 2008. Remember how so many of the warning signs of a total financial disaster were right there in plain sight, but they were pretty much ignored until it was way too late? Well, the big question it poses is that same exact thing happening right now? Is there some massive hidden crisis that we're all missing? So, what is this so-called hidden crisis? Well, according to this source, it's a secret that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time. And there it is, $36 trillion. That's the U.S. national debt figure that the source points to. But, a number that big is hard to even wrap your head around. And the number itself isn't even the whole story. The argument is that the real danger lies in the massive and always growing interest payments that come with it. This really helps make that giant number relatable. The source asks you to just think of the economy like a household that's been living on credit cards for years. Sure, you can keep spending as long as your credit limit keeps going up, but eventually, what happens? Those minimum interest payments start to eat up your entire paycheck. And that's what leads to what this source calls the debt spiral. Okay, so the crucial point here is this. It's a feedback loop where the country has to take out new loans just to cover the interest on the old loans. This cycle can cause the total debt to grow exponentially, which leaves less and less money for everything else. Things like infrastructure, schools, or Social Security. And this brings us right back to those headlines we started with. According to this view, the tariffs aren't just some negotiating tactic. They're actually a desperate, last-ditch attempt to try and rebalance an economy that, from this perspective, is basically drowning in debt. Okay, so if the debt is this huge flashing red light, you've got to be wondering, why doesn't somebody just fix it? Well, according to the source, the answer is a classic political no-win scenario. All right, so on one hand, you could slash government spending. But can you imagine proposing major cuts to super popular programs like Medicare or Social Security? That's seen as political suicide. Okay, so on the other hand, you could just hike taxes. But that risks making a lot of people really angry, and it could seriously slow down the economy. So you see, politicians are pretty much trapped. And then you've got the Federal Reserve, and they're caught in their own kind of trap. Think about it. If they raise interest rates to fight inflation, the interest payments on that $36 trillion debt get even more massive. But if they keep rates low to make the debt easier to handle, they risk devaluing the dollar and letting inflation run totally wild. It's described as this treacherous balancing act, with no easy exit. And the stakes get even higher when you look at the rest of the world. This source warns that other countries might not want to keep buying U.S. debt forever. It points to some emerging powers that are creating their own currency agreements to trade without using the U.S. dollar at all. Now, if foreign investors stop buying U.S. bonds, the whole system could face a major shock. So after laying out this pretty massive problem, the source doesn't just leave us there. It pivots to what it calls a financial life raft, which is really just actionable advice for how individuals like us can get prepared. And the whole idea here is all about empowerment. The argument is that while you probably can't change national fiscal policy all by yourself, you can control how you prepare for what might happen. The focus shifts to building your own financial security. The source lays out a really clear 3-step strategy. First, protect yourself by diversifying your assets. The old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Second, build a safety net by keeping some of your assets liquid, like cash, so you're not forced to sell things at a loss in a panic. And third, and this is a big one, stay informed. And to get a little more specific on that first step, diversification, the source mentions a few ideas. We're talking things like physical gold, maybe some foreign currencies, and stocks in those big, stable multinational companies. It also brings up real estate, though with a note of caution, and even cryptocurrencies, but specifically for those with a high tolerance for risk. And so we end on this final, really provocative thought. The source describes the national debt not just as a number, but as a fuse burning down. Now, we don't know when or even if that fuse will ever reach the end,
But the source leaves us with one critical question. If it does ignite, are you prepared?